Hello everyone, this is Don with War Aircraft Replicas. Well, what you see before you is the outer spar of the regular sized War 109. And we covered this in a couple of videos ago, and I've now had time to go back to that. Few things as we kind of talk about this. Notice all the clamps. Any woodworking project needs a sufficient amount of clamps. I don't recommend you go out and drain your bank account to buy all these. Sometimes, depending on the name brand, they can be expensive, but there are places that will sell cheaper clamps, and you can purchase those for considerably less. I always like to get several of a certain size, several of a larger size, so on and so forth. Different types, something that can clamp on an angle, as you see there, so it's secure, because as we epoxy this, we want to make sure that we have a snug fit. But then again, we don't want to do anything that will cause all of the epoxy to be pushed out of place. So let's start over here at the left. This area here, this is the inboard side. Notice, please, the intercostals and the hole there for the intercostal. And please remember that those are in there to equalize pressure. If we don't put those in there, take the plane up, and you're going to find that your spars are going to be torn up. You have to do this in the center section spar and also the outer spar. This piece, you'll notice here, I've taken a pencil and drawn this shape in here, and that's what the plans actually indicate, this curved piece here. It's just a little weight saving, make it look nice. These pieces are just put in there as I fit them in. And again, it's going to need some extra sanding. We still have saw marks out on these top and bottom pieces where I cut the tapers in. Just a little sanding still left to go. So I have I've restarted this as I want to get this completed, and the hardware on it prior to the weather getting too cold to do this. My shop is not it's not temperature controlled, and in the next few days at night here in this area, it's going to get down close to 30. I use a slow epoxy, and the reason I use a slow epoxy is if you mix the wrong mixture in fast epoxy or a fast hardener with your epoxy, you have very little time, The chemical action is exactly that. It's fast. And if you're not paying attention, you're going to have a mess, and you don't want to ruin your nice spruce pieces. Because if you remember, spruce is very expensive and hard to come by. And certainly, there were limitations on getting it this late in the year. So what we're going to do is I'm now going to epoxy all this tonight. We're going to let it set for 24 hours. We're going to come back to it. We're going to sand it. Any of the areas that have epoxy that has been pushed out due to the pressure, we're going to sand it. And then, of course, then we're going to need to cover these from the intersection to the tip with a 3mm plywood to complete it. And then we'll start prepping it for the spar fittings. Hey, I hope you enjoy this video. I really appreciate all of you and your comments. Appreciate your comments here on the 109, and I also appreciate your comments for the Spitfire. This is Don with War Aircraft Replicas.